Hi, and welcome to Chips in the Cookie. This is a diverse panel of Black and African Americans here to share our stories of navigating through predominantly white spaces. The one connector here is me, and I brought some of my friends together from different aspects of our life. So I'm going to just introduce them to you. And in case you're wondering where Chips in the Cookie comes from, if you know me, you know that quite often when I go someplace or I take part of anything theatrical or school or work, I notice something, that I am the only chip in the cookie. So I decided to get us all together. So we're going to start introducing some of my wonderful panelists. We're going to start with Rod Milam.
Hi, my name is Rod Milam. I'm currently in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm a broadcaster, have been for many, many years. I lived in New York City for about 12 years, lived in Japan, lived in Spain as well. Worked on radio. I've also worked somehow at Wall Street and done a bunch of different jobs as I've been around. And I know a couple of these folks from, especially when I lived in New York. So I'm looking forward to this conversation amongst us who are amongst the participants that we have going on, and later on, probably an hour or so, with other people who may have questions who've never heard some stories like this before during this time.
Wonderful. And next, we're going to go to the lovely Paula Galloway.
My name is Paula Galloway. I am a part-time actor, full-time mom, living here in Queens. I've known a few of my esteemed colleagues on the panel for quite some time, working in a space like the New York Renaissance Fair or theater in general. That's actually, I think, how Robbie and I met, doing Shakespeare. So yes, so I'm happy to be here.
All right, thank you. And we also have the lovely Tiza Cherie Evans.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tiza Cherie, and I am an actor, a promo model, an event manager, and event producer here in the New York City tri-state area. And I know a lot of these people also from doing various theatrical productions, primarily the New York Renaissance Fair. So it's great to be able to just chat amongst friends tonight.
Wonderful. And Mr. Robbie Taylor.
You forgot the lovely, by the way. I'm just saying.
Oh,
I'm Robbie
Lovely.
Taylor. I am an actor, musician, who is mainly, at this point, a high school teacher. I've lived all over the world. I lived in Saudi Arabia, I lived in Singapore. I've traveled extensively and then moved to South Florida, then moved up here where I started acting. And now I am a special ed high school teacher.
Beautiful. And the woman who my children call their fairy godmother, Maya Jordan.
Hello, everyone. I'm Maya. I was born and raised in Michigan. I live in New York City now. I'm an actor and a singer and a composer for film and video, and I co-run my own film company with my husband. And as you all know, I've met most of these lovely people through theatrical things. And I just want to thank Candace for putting this together, you know, before we actually start the discussion. Candace, thank you so much for coming up with this idea. Thank you for inviting us to participate, and thank you for inviting me to your table. I'm a multiracial woman of color, and often multiracial people, especially who present the way I do, often don't get invited to these conversations, even though we all have such shared experiences. So I want to thank you for that and thank my fellow panelists.
Wonderful. Thank you. And last but not least, my ride or die, Tamara Thomas.
Hey everyone, so I am the only non-actor on this panel. I am Tamara Thomas. I am a pastry chef. I've been in the culinary arts for 17 years now. I currently teach culinary arts, baking and pastry to people, to Black and Brown people who have had greater disadvantages in their life, and helping them to grow and become, and giving them job skills to grow and become, and reimagine their existence. I know the wonderful Candace Kendall Brown, and through her have met all of these amazing people. And I am glad that all of you are here for the conversation. I know with my personal friends, I've probably never told some of my stories too. So I think in order for us to all move forward, we definitely need to hear everything. We need to hear other perspectives. So I'm excited about being a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, thank you for all of you that are taking your time to come and join us. We are only going to get to the tip of the iceberg, to be quite honest with you, because if we did tell every single one of our stories, you know, we're talking another Bible here. And just really quickly, before we get into the 3 topics we're going to touch on, I see that somebody asked that some people don't know the difference between Black, African American, and people of color. So what I'm going to do just really quickly, I identify as Black because my parents are from a country in South America called Guyana, and my grandparents are from Guyana. So my relationship to Africa is a bit further off. So I just say Black because it just encompasses everything. Some people say African American. Does anybody else want to take that definition?
Well, if you want to just go strictly from the straight from Africa to America situation, then we would be considered African American. However, personally, I always say Black because I like to take in the account of people who are of Caribbean ancestry, who otherwise, if you just saw them in the street, you go, oh, they're Black. You know, so that's how I identify as Black. But African American is generally thought of as American Black folks.
Right.
And
then,
in terms of people of color,
yes,
that is obviously an all-encompassing term. Sometimes it's helpful, you know, with social media and a soundbite to say people of color because it encompasses a lot. A lot of people like myself who are multiracial use people of color because it's the correct identifier. Because we're a mix. So it can be used in both ways. If you're a mixed person like I am, you often use people of color, but it can be used as an umbrella term just to be efficient if you're talking about Black people and Hispanic people and Native people and Asian people. That all falls under the umbrella of people of color as well.
So I hope that answered the question from Antoinette. And now we're going to just break this up into 3 major topics and then our final topic, which is moving on. Our first one is going to be microaggressions. And we have all had to deal with this in some way or some form. So I'm going to ask Tiza if you can just share a story that not many of your peers know where you've had to deal with microaggressions, being a Black woman navigating in a very white space.
Sure. This is something that I will never forget. Early on in my career, I was touring with a theater company that focused on plays, musicals, and short plays for young adults. Loved working with the company, but I noticed something that kept coming up every time we went on the road. And I was on the road with them for 4 years. No matter what character I played, no matter what I was wearing, and typically I was always wearing something where I was really covered up from head to toe. And no matter what the instance, we would go someplace and we would get letters from mothers who said that I was too sexual during the show. And so I knew when it was coming because I would get called to the principal's office of the school that we had done the show for. And it would always open with, first off, we just want to apologize to you. We thought you did a wonderful job. The show was fantastic. And we just don't want you hearing about this from anyone else. So we just want to apologize first and, you know, and express that and let you know what was said. So thankfully I had a supportive theater company. I didn't really have to, I didn't worry about that. They definitely had my back, and the staff that always brought us in did have my back and our back, but it just became a little much.
Mm-hmm.
I had one mother write that, and this is a show that was directed by a 70-plus-year-old white woman who was from Great Britain. So she directed and blocked all of this. And I know she did an excellent job. I had one mother actually say to me, or wrote in the letter, when she straddled the chair, it was as if I was watching someone in a porn.
Jesus.
God, dude.
Jesus Christ.
Head to toe. I mean, it was a very traditional show. I literally had on a dress that would be something that you'd see out of Little House on the Prairie, and tie-up boots. And I was reciting a poem from a renowned poet. And that's what I looked like to her. I went to another school, same issue happened. And we were performing in theater, so they literally had to like track this down and send it to the school to make sure that it was sent to our theater company. Different town, different principal's office, wearing the cutest little pink suit. Did once again a choreographed number. Mother wrote that my dance movements were too sexual. So, and I was a dormouse. That was my character. I was a mouse.
For fuck's sake.
Jesus
So
Christ.
we had to alter, I had to make sure that I didn't move my pelvis at all because it was perceived as sexual movement. And then, of course, the crowning touch was being in a Shakespearean show. So this was a show for young adults who were a little older. And I had a kiss with someone who was white. Mm-hmm. That they tried to keep from me because they didn't want anybody to hurt my feelings. And they stood their ground. We kept it in the show, but it was offensive. I was just seen as just overtly sensual and coming, on to him. And why did the kiss have to last so long? So it just kind of plays over and over again in your mind when you walk into an audition or when you walk into a conference, especially because I do a lot of conferences where I have to, be maybe in a business suit and heels. And I've literally walked in and had men and women just look me up and down like, oh, well, here you are. I suppose what you're wearing is acceptable, but it always crosses your mind, whether you're in a professional setting or whether you're going into that setting where that you're going to be one of the few Black people. And I always am mindful of, I don't want to, and I didn't look sensual at all for any of the things that I described.
Yeah.
But it never leaves you mentally to always think that you are thought of as this hypersexual creature that no matter what you do, you're trying to come on to someone, or you're overstimulated in some way. And it comes to my head.
Like all that shit goes back so far. Like you're either Mammy or you're Sapphire, which is the oversexed young woman.
Yep.
And you are very goddamn clearly not a Mammy. And so they automatically assume, oh, she's got very curvy lips. She's got a figure. She's got a booty. Then obviously because we can actually see the curves, that means that she is dangerous to our white men.
Yeah. And that's a whole other topic.
Yeah,
That's a whole other conversation. Oh my God.
Way to start. All right.
We'll get to interracial dating in a minute. We'll get to interracial dating.
So y'all can say something soon.
That's a whole
we'll speak
other
on
one.
We
I mean, we have to be
yes.
in the audience on that.
Just
Slow
also to
down.
let the audience know, we are hearing some of these stories. Tisa, you've never told me that.
Yeah. I've
So hearing some of these stories for us is hard. And we replay stuff that we've gone through. So please understand that. This is raw. This is real. It ain't rehearsed. The only thing we rehearse is, do we turn on our mic? Do we turn off our mic? That's the only thing we rehearse.
Sort of.
I knew it was
Anyhow.
gonna be like this. I'd have brought my tissues. Damn.
Sorry.
Should have
It's been a
warned
very
sister on
tense
that.
time with everything that's going on.
Oh,
This
God,
is why we're
yes.
doing this.
Absolutely.
Anyhow, so
Absolutely.
to bring us back on track,
Mhm.
can anyone else give me, another microaggression story before we move on to our next topic?
Oh,
And
how
I'm
many do you
seeing.
want?
I was about to
How
So,
many
pick
do you
one of us.
want?
Paula,
Let's see.
give me what you got.
Column A,
Okay, well,
microaggression column B.
I'll try and summarize these. Let's see. I believe the first time I actually became aware of the first microaggression that I ever got, I think was in college. It was just a simple little exchange. This couple is walking through the hallways where the rest of us group is. We're practicing, we're rehearsing for a show and everything. And one of the guys was a guide, I think, for them, and they couldn't find him, and they were looking for him and everything like that. And they just happened to run into me, and they asked me, "Is like, do you happen to know where this person is?" And I was just like, "Oh, of course, you had this way down," and I gave them the whole directions, and they're so grateful. They're just like, "Thank you so much." And the lady, of course, she's got like the helmet hair and everything. Like, "You speak so well."
Oh my
God.
God.
Yes.
Oh
Yes.
my God. Not that one. Oh
To
my
which I
God.
replied,
Really?
"Well, yes, I read."
So
I
articulate.
read.
So
So
articulate.
That's
articulate.
one.
Oh,
And
Yes, so
educated.
articulate. It's been weaponized.
articulate. Yeah,
When
there we
someone
go.
when someone refers to
Articulate.
you as articulate, it's been weaponized. Of
Yes.
course, I mean, I could go into the whole yes. When I would go into job interviews before I started doing acting. The one great thing I can say about doing stuff in acting is I never have to worry about them not knowing I'm Black. Headshot makes it real simple. But, yeah, it's real simple.
Those questions according to how you're feeling right now.
Right.
Somebody-
Step
Sorry.
feedback.
Somebody,
Yeah.
if
Sorry,
you are
that's
not if you are
somebody-
not one of the panelists, can you please mute the microphone? Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
so no, that's the there's that one. There's also, yes, let's see. Yes, going into job interviews, they'd hear me on the phone. They'd be like, "Okay, we're looking forward to seeing for you," and everything like that. I walk into the room, and you can see the smile just
Surprise!
Wait,
fight.
can I make the
It's
face?
a fight. It's a fight. Please,
On
where's
the
the
count
face?
of
Where's
Can I
the
three.
make
face?
the face?
On the count of
Everybody
three,
make the
all
face
of us make the face.
when they
One,
realize you're Black.
1, 2, 3.
Oh.
Made the same
Same face. It is
Yeah,
universal.
same face.
It
We all
is
know.
universal. I
Yeah,
promise
we've
you
seen
that.
it.
And then,
We all
Ladies
know.
and gentlemen,
And this,
let's
then of course,
remember.
oh, sorry.
I was
And then
gonna
of course,
say,
there's my personal favorite.
Yes.
Sorry, my personal favorite. Let's see. This was shortly after I'd given birth to my son. Now, my son, he's biracial. My husband is white. I myself am Black. So, see, I'm taking him to his pediatrician, and he's like this tiny little scoop of the thing. And I've got him in a stroller, and mom hasn't slept. I'm exhausted and everything like that. And I'm just waiting to cross the street, and the woman who's standing next to me looks into the stroller, and she looks at me and everything like that. And the first words are out of her mouth are not "he's beautiful" or "that's a beautiful baby" or "how old" or anything like that. She says, "How much?" She wants to know what my nanny rates are.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
For those of you that don't know, when you are a Black mother and you have a biracial child, and that child comes out really, really light, they all think you're the nanny.
Mm-hmm.
Let that sit
She wanted
in
to know
for a
my
minute.
rates.
They think you're the nanny, and they don't care. They will come up and say, "Oh, how much are your rates?"
Wow. She wanted to know my
Hey,
rates.
Candy,
Yeah.
can I add something about microaggressions
yes.
so you can get a little bit
Please.
younger?
Yes.
So I'm one of the, I actually grew up in white spaces. I grew up in middle America, suburbia. And it doesn't just happen, the microaggressions, they don't just happen when you're an adult. They actually happen even younger. I remember being a little girl, not little, but like 10, 11, 12, and being the only girl on the block who didn't get to stay at certain people's houses. I remember being the only girl on the block who didn't get invited to some slumber parties, although I was friends with the same children. I remember the looks people would give me when their grandmothers or uncles or somebody from the family came over and I was there, and they'd give that look where they had to explain to them why I was there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, and you guys can say it with me, she's special.
Yeah.
Oh,
She's not like the other ones.
She's different.
You know,
Oh yeah.
Wait,
And
she's not black.
She's a black.
Yeah.
We'll cover that in a minute.
Yes.
But the thing is these were told to me as a child.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? This isn't what happened to me as an adult when I was ready to deal with it and armed for it.
Right.
This happened to me as a kid. As a kid, I had to understand why I couldn't go and say the night at so-and-so's house. And my so-and-so's can never say at my house, even though they could say at everybody else's house. You know, when I was 16, one of the white girls across the street got pregnant, and a neighbor said to me, "We thought it'd be you." Me? I was a 16-year-old virgin. How was it me?
Wow.
You know? But so when we talk about microaggressions, I want you all to realize that, one, we carry those microaggressions for a lifetime.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay? They
So it's
stay
death by
with us.
it's death by 1,000 cuts.
It's death by 1,000 cuts, 1,000 cuts. And for some of us, you know, some grew up in Black neighborhoods, and God bless them, they were so lucky. But for those of us who didn't grow up in those Black spaces, those micro cuts happened in elementary school, and middle school, and high school.
Kindergarten.
You know, and kindergarten.
Yeah.
So
We all have
so
those
not
schools.
just what you're saying to adults, but what are you saying to kids? And please don't think that the little brown kid next to you doesn't see you make that weird look at grandma.
Yeah.
Because you see
Oh,
it.
they know. Oh, you know the
I
look.
see it.
You can
I know the
recognize the look no matter where you are. I've been in many countries. I've seen that look, and it all looks the same wherever you go. So it's known. You're not hiding it. Just like you're not hiding, pulling your purse away. You're not totally hiding,
locking your doors.
You're locking or crossing the street or following behind me. We see it.
Yeah.
We know what's going on. So either don't do it or do it. So
I have a question.
And I remember in school.
Granted, I'm a bit older than some of y'all here. So raise your hand if you've heard "you're a credit to your race."
Oh, I got that one. Maya, you're not a credit to your race.
I'm not.
Maya.
What I get is the microaggression in the form of a compliment.
Oh God,
which
bring it.
Is, you know, and this happened as a child. It's happened to me as an adult, where telling me, "Well, you're the good kind."
The good Black people.
God.
I'm the good kind.
Yes.
Or, "Well, you're not really Black." You know, by white people telling me that I'm not really Black, as if that is a compliment, as if ignoring the other parts of me is a compliment to me.
Whereas I would be getting that I'm not Black enough from the other end.
Oh, yeah. I get that too.
Speaking of that, that's
topic.
going to take us right into our next topic. Another thing that I know all of us have dealt with is, once again, we are living in white spaces. You hear how we talk. You hear how we conduct ourselves. You hear, for some of you that actually know us, you see how we are. And then we get told we are not Black enough.
Oh my God. Now that has been following me since I was about 7 years old.
And for this one, I actually want to hit Rod, because I think out of all of us, you as an adult have worked in other countries. And so therefore are representing all around. And I know you've got
other countries. I want to jump on after him.
Yes. So Rod, can you share with us stories in which, you know, they want you to be just, you know, a little bit more Black.
Black.
Ethnic, urban, either more ethnic or more urban, or
Yes.
what's the other? There are like 5 other euphemisms that end up getting used. I don't know. It's weird for me because I'll get around the world and I'm watching the clock. I was born in this town where I am right now. It's part of St. Louis. Ferguson is like 8 miles that way. And I'm in University City. The town is about 50% black, 50% white. That's all that we had here. There are like 15 Asians and 1 Latino. That's all that we had like when I was growing up. So that's the mix. And I ended up crossing, but even though University City was about 50-50, the town was striated. So up in the in the northern third, it was almost 90% black. In the southern third, it's 90% white. In the middle, it was about a mix, but it was like a gradient. It would go from one to the other. When I was younger, I lived all the way up north in the mostly black part. And because my mom was an elementary school teacher and a lot of integration and desegregation was just starting, I ended up getting sent intentionally to the elementary school all the way on the other side of town near Washington University. The school was there were about 300 kids in the elementary school. And I was one of 8 black kids in the whole school. And the only one when it wasn't my sister, who was younger than I am, who actually I didn't even live in the area. So for me, it's always felt like I've been told at times, well, you have to represent your whole race. So that sort of thing, from being a kid, I represent all black people to a lot of people who get seen. For me, that's been a load that I've always borne. Didn't know that it wasn't there. It's just present. So to go to another country where you say, oh, you have to represent. You're not just representing your family. Of course, you're always representing your family. Like when I went to the black church that we went to, the AME church in St. Louis, you're representing your people. And then when you go to another country, you feel like you're representing the United States, which is weird because a lot of times, depending on the country I went to, they didn't think I was American. So, I mean, because I don't look like Brad Pitt, I don't look like all these other people that they see on TV who are American, which is kind of fun. You can have fun with it where, oh, if the other Americans that are around you are acting like idiots, it's like, well, that's not me. At least in this part, they don't think it's, I don't know them. And I speak French, so I'm not talking to you. But I've had incidents happen when I've been in France where people have said stuff to me and it's like, okay, wow, that was phenomenally racist. Didn't have it happen so much in Spain, but in Japan, tons of things have happened. And me being a broadcaster, being a journalist, the only comments that I've gotten on my voice, which were less fitting of me, is when I was little, despite the way my voice sounds right now, on the phone, people would say, oh, you sound like a girl. And I said, I'm not a girl, I'm a boy. That's the only thing that would say. But I've always been articulate and read the announcements and all that sort of thing. And that's a microaggression. It is when you're articulate and all that, because I didn't know how to take it from some black people because they thought that I was trying to be too white. White people would say it. And most of the ones who said it then, that was absolutely not a compliment. I am black and I'm a boy. And I don't know why you have to pick this whole thing apart. It's coincidental that I went on to work in the radio. My voice was like actually not because of that. I'm a journalist. I've been a journalist. I write news, and to this day, people say when they found out, oh, you worked at the NPR station, you worked at CBS, you did some things, you had stuff on CNN and internationally, they'll say, oh yeah, you got that radio voice. It's like, I'm a journalist. I have to write and report and read and interview people and do all that stuff. That's my job, but all they hear is the voice and the articulate thing in the good part. And I say all that stuff ahead of time because when I got to Japan and I was doing freelance journalism, but my main job was to be an English teacher, a conversational English teacher. Whole gig was to go in and to teach people who paid a lot of money to come into a private school to learn how to speak English correctly, whatever the heck that is. They were learning most of the people in Japan, and I was in Tokyo, in the giant city, to learn how to speak English with a certain accent or be fluent with it. People in Japan have 6 years of English. In school, and I was teaching maybe some high school kids, but a lot of adults. You would think if somehow you got somebody who for 8 years had been an international journalist on the radio, who got paid, whose English was good enough, that they got paid enough to speak around the world and to actually use the language, they would promote me and say, hey, this is the guy that you want to have teach you English. Coming into our school, we have a professional, this is great. Well, it didn't happen. 50% of our time spent at the company was to actually go and teach people English. I was like, okay, cool. And the other 50% is we're supposed to interview people who want to come to the school and learn English and try to assess what level they're on, because we can tell as native speakers, you know, how high up or down they actually are. Well, that's supposed to be half of our job. And we were supposed to be doing basically because of our school size, 5 to 10 interviews a week. The staff at the school, they knew I didn't look American. I'm not American enough. You're black. And literally the first word that I learned when I was in Japan was scary, because I had people say it enough to me while I was just walking down the street or in a restaurant. Kawaii so ne, kawaii. Kawaii is scary. Kawaii is cute. Kawaii is scary. And I didn't speak Japanese before I went. But the management decided, you're not really American. You can't be. And this is all pre-Obama. I did 5 interviews the entire year that I lived in Tokyo. And that's the microaggression, that they didn't think I could do the job, even though one woman was from Texas, had a very heavy Texas accent that most people couldn't understand. The other guy was from Wisconsin, and, you know, oh yeah, he sounded a bit like this, you know, he could talk, that sort of thing from Minnesota was kind of in there. It's like, fine, if you want to talk with them, that's great. Or you can speak like me, where they actually teach everybody on TV to sound like I sound. So it's just been weird, because even that sort of stigma has stuck with me to this day. And I'm in my waning days of my 40s right now. And I've only just now kind of embraced being able to try to do voiceover work, because it has always been weaponized. It's been this thing, the way you talk, you're not really you. I'm confident in myself, and I don't want to be judged on my voice. And to throw that out there as something that is something of worth is very bothersome to me. And I think a lot of us just want to try to exist. And you can't exist. You get something that is so innate to you, just point it out. Even if you think it's being complimentary, most of the time it's not. If I'm having a good day, sure it is, but a lot of times it's not. You're pretty for a white girl or for a black girl. I've heard that. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. It's the most ridiculous thing on earth. If you like my voice, that's fine. But if it's being brought up in terms or situations, why don't you can treat me like a person? I like your voice. That can be fine. But a lot of times it's not. And especially with the audience that we have watching, if you've ever said something like, oh, well, you sound so great, or you're really articulate, or other things they attested or tried to describe to Obama. Oh, well, you're not like that sort of thing. Those cuts are deep, and wherever you go, those things are problems as well. So I don't know. It kind of got to what you wanted to talk about. There are a zillion things all of us could talk about, but this is one just from the international kind of realm that you would get. And trust me, I get all the stuff here too, but I'm over it now. I'm old enough where I don't have to care. I could point to my microphone over here. Let me get some voiceover work. I will do all that stuff. I'll still do everything. But it's very interesting that's a thing. And I haven't traveled internationally much since Obama was president. Maybe I'm kind of American now. But in Japan, what just got released, there was a video from NHK, the giant national broadcaster. They were trying to describe what was going on in the United States, why were black people so mad? And the visuals it was literally a cartoon, but it was cartoonish. They had a giant black guy just looking mad and just stomping and screaming up and down. And he looked like the Hulk on steroids. And then they had one black guy with a guitar.
He's stereotypical Hulk. Big
lip.
He
did, but he had
wide, broad ass nose.
Well, not just that, but they also had the guy they had some blues guy sitting on a fire hydrant just playing while
because we all play jazz.
And I was like, wow. I mean, that was my stereotype. But you play jazz? Oh no, you're in the military. Oh no. And people say, what do you do? And I'm an English teacher. And no one could believe it. You know, it's like, yes, I speak English and I do this, and that's what I do. And it's not to pick on Japan. That's just one that I thought of because it's been 20 years like this October since I've been there. I can tell you a zillion stories that happen over here with all that, but this is just for the short time we have to kind of add a little perspective to what's going on. Because you know, no one's ever said that I'm too sexual. That's not a thing for me. So I'll get that one. I couldn't relate to that.
Speaking of that,
of the camera, so.
I'm going to be objectifying here, Robbie.
Speaking of sexual chocolate,
Robbie.
Sexual chocolate, everybody. Sexual chocolate.
So, Robbie, you said you had wanted to piggyback on that.
So basically, like, I grew up overseas. I moved to Saudi Arabia when I was 2. And I lived there until I was about 7. In Saudi Arabia, it wasn't a huge deal just because we were on an American compound, or at least I didn't perceive it as a huge deal because I was from 2 to 7, so I didn't notice. There were a couple of Arab guys that my mom taught. My mom's a teacher, so you know I have to speak correctly or she'll beat my ass.
Oh yeah.
There were a couple of Arab guys that my mom taught who would come around, and they had magnificent fros. This was, you know, early 80s, late 70s. I don't know how with Arabic hair you got a nice fro like that, but one dude's name was Fahad Mark, and he loved all sorts of black culture. That's on the good side of the issue. It wasn't there a lot, but the first time, oh, and then after that, I moved to Saudi Arabia, where I was for 4 years. The first time that I ever remember being called a nigger was in Singapore, was by another little kid. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was like, something, you a nigger. I was like, what does that mean? I don't, what? But I knew it wasn't good just by the way that he was saying it. So I went home and I talked to my mom, and I was like, so this kid called me a nigger, what is that? My mom just was like, and looking back on it now, I know what it was. It was, I thought we got away from that. I thought we were in a different enough country that we wouldn't have to deal with this. And so she sat me down and we had the conversation.
The talk.
Yeah.
First in the series, yeah.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
sort of, yeah. The
Yeah.
first where it had to be explicit. And so after that, I started noticing things. Like there was a brand of toothpaste in Singapore at the time.
Oh God, I know
called
it.
Darky toothpaste.
Darky.
Yeah. Which was, if you
Are you
imagine
serious?
an old Reconstruction era caricature of a black man on your toothpaste.
Oh,
That's
I can
what it
imagine it.
Yeah.
I'm getting
It
a migraine
was-
thinking about it, but yeah.
It was a lot. And that was also where I started being told, but you don't sound black. You look black, but you don't sound black, which is just continuing on for, till this day. It's where I first heard the term bounty bar. Here in the US, it's an Oreo.
Oreos.
Yes,
In England,
Yeah.
it's a bounty bar because it's dark on the outside and
I
coconut on the inside.
Yeah.
Here's a
Amazing.
funny thing. I
Yeah.
just watched a show today called Not Black Enough. And in the logo of it is within all the O's, they're Oreos.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
And I was
Yeah.
like, and it took me watching School Days to understand what the kids meant when they used to call me Oreo when I was in school.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know until I watched School Days. And I was like, wait, what now?
Elementary school, you learn quick what it means.
Yeah,
you
I
learn
did.
quickly. If I may.
Oh.
Learn quickly.
Yes,
You
hold
were-
up, please.
You were constantly death by 1,000 cuts, like you were saying. You are too black for the white kids and too white for the black kids. So you're in this weird in between space. You're in this weird liminal space where you have to become your own friend. You have to become your own advocate because no one else is going to fight for you until you start fighting.
Right.
Yeah.
Maya, I know you have a great story on this before we jump to our next topic.
It's interesting navigating these spaces because one of the themes that we're talking about is being a person of color in a white space. And since so many of us are involved in different industries where we find we're the only person of color in the room. And I've experienced, interestingly, the same thing with two different sets of people, the white people and the black people in the same show, of being too ethnic for the white producers, but not black enough for the show. I went to audition for a show that I was tailor-made for. It was a fairy pirate show. and anyone who knows me knows that fairy and pirate is on my performance resume many times.
And in her face.
Yes. Tailor-made for this show. Also, I'm a classically trained singer. I have a lyric operatic voice. And I went to this audition and I thought I did a pretty good job of it, but I could tell that the white producers of this production company were like, right? What do we do with her? Because I fall into that category also because I am not an overly sexualized woman. What do you do with me? They don't know what to do with me. So I auditioned for this show and then I got a callback. Not for the show I auditioned for. I got a call black. Hey guys. That's what I'm calling it from now on.
That was not Freudian
Right?
at all.
I got a callback for the Black show. And when I walked into that callback, it was like a record scratch because everyone was looking at me like, what the hell is she doing here? And honestly, I thought there was a clerical mistake because this is not the show I auditioned for. The white producers liked me, but didn't know what to do with me. And so they had me go to this callback for the Black show. I did the callback, and during the entire callback, because for the Black show, it was nothing but a Black director, Black music director, Black assistant director. They also didn't know what to do with me. They kept asking, do you know any gospel songs? And I was like, I do, but I know like the choir version of the gospel song. I would read my lines and they would ask me to read them in a more urban way. I knew I wasn't a fit for the show, right? Can you do it more urban? And I'm thinking, have you looked at my resume? Like what do I do? And so to literally have both of these experiences of not being white enough, but then not being Black enough for this show. And I actually ended up getting in the show, and I'm convinced I only got in because whoever they asked first and second turned it down. And so then
Tell
I
them
spent
the song that you sang.
Which
no, I mean for the audition.
Well, they asked for lots of gospel songs, and I was like, well, I could sing the hell out of Amazing Grace, but it's going to be classical, right? You know, like where do I fit in these white spaces, you know? And so getting into that show, I spent the whole time basically being told by the director that I wasn't Black enough, constantly giving me notes of, well, what about when your family was doing barbecue? All these things. Someone created a list and said that if you are a Black person, these are your cultural touchstones. And if you aren't into these things, you aren't Black enough. If you are a nerd, you are not Black enough. If you speak a certain way, you are not Black enough. If you are into classical music, you aren't Black enough. If you're into Shakespeare, you aren't Black enough. And
if you listen to rock music,
you're not Black enough.
Or country.
You're smart. You're not Black enough.
I'm running out of fingers, y'all. I'm running out of fingers.
Exactly. Someone created this great list out there, the list of being a Black person. And all of us have this experience of being like, but I am who I am. Why? Right. The greatest privilege is to live your life authentically and be who you really are, and not have to have that represent or not represent your race. That is the greatest privilege, and that is a privilege that people of color, no matter how they identify, that's something that we're still striving for. And if this is the experience that I have, being multiracial and presenting the way I do, it is 10 times worse for someone who isn't mixed like me. And these are experiences that we have every single day.
Here's another thing.
Sorry, I just want to, in 92, right during the Rodney King riots, everybody was like, come on, man, we need to be more Black. Why aren't you so Black? You need to be more Black. Why are you listening to that rock and roll? What the fuck? And I'm like, okay, you know what? And this is where I finally landed on the thing that would cement me in myself. And I said, listen, every single thing I do is Black simply because I do it.
Yep.
If I decide that I want to listen to country music, I'm going to be the most Charlie Pride singing motherfucker you ever heard because I am black.
He rolled out the Charlie Pride. Yes, sir. Yeah.
You could have gone with Darius Rucker. I mean, you could
That's
have
what
gone
I'm saying.
more
But
modern.
He said good country.
Shady said,
Leave Hootie alone.